So if you're an executive in your 40s, maybe 50s, this pain point, you're trying to maximize your fitness, but you're working with a body that, well, it suddenly feels a lot less forgiving.
Exactly. That sheer volume of training that worked in your 20s.
Yeah.
It now feels like just unnecessary systemic trauma. It's the kind of thing that just lands you with an injury.
You've got high agency in the office, but the gym floor, it's become a liability.
That's it. You've hit what the material from Sundried calls a critical juncture. The body has changed. And that old training philosophy it's just counterproductive.
So this deep dive is basically a new operating manual.
It is. We're officially moving you from the shotgun approach of youth, just throwing volume at the problem, to the sniper-like precision of the midlife executive.
Okay, so our mission today is to equip that exact demographic. We're calling this person the strategic veteran. You run your world, but your body, it needs refinement, not punishment.
Right.
And we are distilling every recommendation from the sun-dried material under one single governing motto: smarter, not softer.
And that philosophy, it's absolutely essential because it respects biological reality. The sun-dried content isn't just a list of workouts, it's a comprehensive physiology-first strategy.
It's focused on longevity, right? And avoiding injury.
Longevity, injury avoidance, and frankly, high performance. It's about leveraging intensity while meticulously avoiding all that junk volume that drains the very recovery tank you need to protect.
Okay, let's unpack that. We can't build the new machine until we understand the changing landscape. So where does the strategic veteran start to face this structural opposition? Why can't we just train like we did at 25?
The first non-negotiable reality is what they term the Sarcopenic Cliff. After age 40, sarcopenia, that's accelerated muscle loss, it really begins to bite.
And we have to stress, this is not just a cosmetic thing, is it? It's not about looking a little smaller.
No, not at all. It's a full-blown metabolic crisis. Your lean muscle tissue is your primary metabolic engine. As it shrinks, your whole energy processing capability goes down, insulin sensitivity drops, and you become far more susceptible to metabolic syndrome.
So the goal of lifting weights actually shifts. It goes from getting big to something more like self-preservation.
Yes, you're just trying to maintain that metabolic horsepower.
It's what you call skeletal insurance.
Precisely. And this is where heavy lifting becomes irreplaceable. When you move heavy weights, your contracting skeletal muscle, it acts like a powerful endocrine organ. It releases these signaling molecules called myokines.
And these myokines, they're what talk to the bones.
They talk directly to your bone tissue, telling it to remodel and strengthen. If you lose that muscle, you lose that crucial signal. And that leads directly to osteosarcopenia, the really dangerous combination of muscle atrophy and bone density loss.
So heavy resistance training is the strongest defense.
It is the strongest non-pharmaceutical intervention against this decline. Period.
Okay, so if heavy lifting is the signal, protein has to be the raw material, the nutritional defense against that muscle attrition.
It's the primary weapon. The sun-dried advice is absolute on this. You must prioritize protein intake. The target is high. It's 1.6 grams to 2 grams per kilogram of body weight.
Whoa, hang on. If I weigh 90 kilograms, that's about 200 pounds. You're telling me I need to hit 180 grams of protein a day. For a busy executive who travels, maybe skips meals, that's a huge lift.
It is. It requires intentionality. It means treating protein intake as a series of non-negotiable targets throughout the day. You can't just dump a huge steak on a plate at dinner and call it a day.
But fractionation, splitting it up.
Exactly. The sources strongly recommend it. Ensure you hit 30 to 40 grams of protein in at least 3 separate sittings. That's how you maximize the muscle protein synthesis signal. You have to consistently feed the engine you're trying to save.
And speaking of engines, once we're feeding the muscle, what signals the body to use it efficiently? That must bring us back to the hormonal engine.
It does.
Sun-dried notes the natural 1% annual testosterone decline, but it implies the real problem is self-inflicted. We speed it up.
We do. That decline is dramatically exacerbated by 2 major factors: chronic inflammation and visceral adiposity, belly fat.
The negative feedback loop.
It's a vicious one.
Okay.
Low testosterone promotes fat gain, and unfortunately, fat tissue contains the aromatase enzyme, which converts your available testosterone into estrogen.
Wow.
The source refers to chronic inflammation combined with visceral fat as a silent castration event.
That phrase really hits hard.
It's powerful terminology because it underscores just how destructive that inflammation is for your hormonal balance.
So what's the tactical counter strategy for hormonal health? beyond just hitting the protein target.
You have to mitigate inflammation, and you have to supply the right raw materials for T synthesis. Sun-Dried suggests a Mediterranean-style diet, but with specific macronutrient targets. You need about 40% of your calories from fat.
From good fats, though.
Oh, absolutely. Heavily weighted towards monounsaturated fats. Olive oil, nuts, avocados, and of course, essential omega-3s. These fats are the literal structural components of every hormone.
And what about the micronutrients?
They stress the non-negotiable raw materials. For optimal testosterone synthesis, that's zinc, vitamin D, and magnesium. If these are low, you're building with substandard materials.
This brings us perfectly to the core training principle for the strategic veteran, the doctrine of minimum effective dose, or MED.
Yes. This is the centerpiece of the whole smarter, not softer approach. It dictates that you must do the smallest amount of work required to trigger a measurable adaptation.
And then stop.
And then, this is the critical part, stop immediately. Preserve those systemic recovery resources.
But wait, if I'm prioritizing intensity over volume, isn't that just an excuse to be lazy? How do we make sure minimum effective dose doesn't become the minimum effort dose?
That's where the intensity component comes in. The strategic veteran has to prioritize intensity. We're talking 60 to 85% of your 1-rep max, because that is the pure, dense adaptation signal the muscle needs.
Whereas volume is what gets you into trouble.
Volume is what incurs systemic fatigue. It leads to joint pain, and it requires days of recovery. We are maximizing neural recruitment in the shortest time possible.
And the key distinction that keeps us off the physical therapy table is stopping at technical failure, not structural failure. Let's make that really clear.
It's a crucial distinction. Technical failure is the point where your form starts to degrade, even just marginally. Maybe the bar slows down or your background's a little on a deadlift. That's your hard stop.
In structural failure.
That's the terrifying moment where you literally drop the bar or fail mid-rep and need a spotter to save you. For the 45-year-old, pushing past technical failure for that final grinding rep isn't productive. It just introduces unnecessary shear force on your tendons and spine.
Guarantees injury.
It guarantees it. We stop at an RPE of 8 or 9, leave 1 or 2 perfect reps in the tank.
That attention to precision is why the quintessential protocol described in the sun-dried material is reverse pyramid training, or RPT. Why does that work so well for this demographic?
It respects the physiology of the strategic veteran's nervous system. Your neural drive, your ability to recruit maximum muscle fibers, it's highest when you are completely fresh.
So RPT flips the traditional pyramid.
Exactly. Instead of starting light and ending heavy when you're already fatigued, you start with your heaviest set, the top set.
The money set, that's the 4 to 6 reps at 100% of your working weight that delivers that maximum signal.
You get the highest quality work done first. Then, for the subsequent back-off sets, you strategically drop the weight by 10 to 15% and increase the reps slightly, say to 8 or 10. You maintain stimulation with less stress.
And you avoid that systemic burnout.
You avoid the burnout and the inflammatory cascade from doing high-volume work after the peak stimulus is already done.
To protect the joints from that intensity, the source offers a couple of crucial longevity hacks, especially around tempo.
Yes, we have to talk about the 3-second eccentric. You want an explosive concentric phase, so lift fast, but a highly controlled, slow eccentric phase. Take about 3 seconds to lower the weight.
And that controlled lowering is key for tendon health.
Critical for tendon health, joint longevity, and it actually maximizes the good kind of muscle damage without the sheer force that causes wear and tear.
And before you even touch the bar, you have to warm up with purpose. No more of that empty 5 minutes on the treadmill staring at the wall.
No, the prescription is the RAMP protocol.
Ramp.
RAMP is a total re-engineering of the warm-up. Raise your heart rate, activate the muscles you're about to use, think glute bridges or core work, mobilize the joints, so hip circles, T-spine rotations, and finally, potentiate.
Potentiate.
A short, intense burst, like a vertical jump or a box jump, to prime the nervous system for the heavy load. This is the difference between just showing up and preparing to dominate.
Okay, moving from the gym floor to the data sheet, we have to talk about autoregulation. Rigid, spreadsheet-style training. That's the #1 cause of injury for masters athletes.
It's lethal. Your life outside the gym travel, a bad night of sleep, a stressful board meeting, it drastically varies your recovery capacity. We need a feedback system to override the ego.
And that feedback system, that biological dashboard, is heart rate variability, or HRV.
Exactly.
So here's where it gets really interesting. How does HRV give us permission to train hard? Or maybe, more importantly, permission to stop.
Well, HRV measures the tiny milliseconds-long variation between your heartbeats. It gives you a direct window into the balance of your autonomic nervous system.
So fight or flight versus rest and digest.
That's the one. A low HRV is a screaming red light. You are under-recovered, you're inflamed, or you're fighting stress. Pushing a heavy RPT session on a red light day guarantees injury and burnout.
In that case, you pivot immediately. You go to zone 2 cardio or do some mobility work instead. I remember ignoring my data once after a cross-country flight, and I paid for it with 2 weeks of knee pain.
The spreadsheet doesn't know you only got 4 hours of sleep.
But your HRV does. A high HRV, on the other hand, that's the green light. That's your signal to go hit those heavy top sets with confidence.
And to manage fatigue within the set, we use rate of perceived exertion, or RPE. As we mentioned, the goal is RPE 8 or 9. RPE 9 means, with certainty, you could get one more rep, but it would be a grinder. You'd sacrifice form.
And leaving that one rep in the tank provides maximal stimulus while preventing the structural risk.
Preventing tendon snaps or vertebral disc issues.
Exactly. So if the training is intense and precise, recovery then becomes the ultimate bottleneck. We have to discuss sleep architecture. The sun-dried material is very firm on this. If you aren't optimizing your sleep, your entire fitness protocol is basically futile.
Sleep is the most potent legal performance-enhancing drug available. It is the sole window for anabolic repair, and we need to focus on slow-wave sleep, or deep sleep.
Because that's when HGH is released.
That's the phase when the pituitary gland unleashes human growth hormone. You need 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep for this process to execute fully.
And this leads us directly to the hard truth, the one that challenges the executive lifestyle, the alcohol trap. The source calls alcohol a chemical saboteur.
It's an accurate description. Many executives use alcohol to wind down, but while it might help you fall asleep faster, it chemically interrupts the quality of your sleep later on.
The glutamate rebound.
The glutamate rebound, yes. It severely fragments your rest, and more critically, it crushes your deep sleep quality. Since HGH release is tied directly to those initial cycles of deep sleep, evening drinking effectively blunts your body's primary anti-aging and anabolic hormone.
That is a tough pill to swallow. But the science is clear. If you're serious about this protocol, you have to reevaluate that relationship.
The reward is simply not worth the cost.
So what about those days when you are on the road or a joint is just barking at you?
Right.
We need a contingency plan that doesn't involve heavy weights.
That's the tendon hack. Heavy isometric holds. Pushing or pulling against an immovable object, a door frame, a squat rack pin, for 30 to 45 seconds at near maximal effort.
And what does that do?
This action induces tendon stiffness and causes immediate localized analgesia, or pain relief, without any movement, wear, and tear on the joint. It's the perfect motor unit recruitment routine for a hotel room.
Okay, let's pivot from strength to metabolic conditioning. Sun-Dried explains why the middle ground of cardio, that moderate plodding jog, is just inefficient for the strategic veteran.
It's the gray zone.
Right. It incurs high systemic fatigue with pretty mediocre returns. The smarter approach polarizes conditioning into 2 highly efficient zones. First, Zone 2.
Zone 2 is the engine builder. This is steady-state work at 60 to 70% of your maximum heart rate. Practically, this means you can talk, but the conversation is strained. You have to think about taking a breath every few words.
And doing 30 to 60 minutes of that maximizes mitochondrial function.
You literally improve the power plants within your cells. This crucial base increases fat oxidation and, very importantly, allows you to recover quickly between your heavy RPT sessions.
Then you have the turbocharger. HIE, high-intensity interval training, that's for VO2 max efficiency.
It's potent, but it imposes high central nervous system stress. The key is to dose it sparingly, once weekly, maybe, and ideally use low-impact modalities like a fan bike or a rower.
So you get the high cardiac output without the joint impact.
Exactly. HIT is a supplement to Zone 2, not a replacement for it.
This entire physical protocol, though, it requires a matching mental framework, which the sun-dried material connects directly to Stoic philosophy.
Yes, and what's fascinating here is the alignment between high-performance physical execution and this ancient wisdom. The strategic veteran has to embrace the dichotomy of control.
Okay, what does that mean in this context?
You cannot control the natural aging process, but you can control your effort, your technique, and your adherence today. That shifts your focus away from past glory and onto present execution.
And the practical application is clear. Discipline over motivation.
Motivation is fleeting. It's unreliable. Discipline is a non-negotiable practice. You have to treat your workout window like a protected, high-level meeting with yourself. Block it out.
And finally, premeditatio malorum.
Negative visualization. Anticipate the challenges before they arrive. Preparation eliminates the shock of disruption.
So if my flight lands late, I will do the hotel room isometric routine.
If I feel a cold coming on, I will switch to a slow zone 1 walk. This pre-planning prevents you from succumbing to that all-or-nothing trap.
So what does this look like in the real world? The sun-dried roundup provides tactical protocols for different commitment levels. Let's start with the middle-of-the-road commitment. You're serious, but time is still managed.
That's the 2+1 protocol. 2 strength sessions a week using RPT-1 upper body, 1 lower body, and 1 dedicated conditioning session. Like a long ruck or a bike ride, kept strictly in zone 2.
And that gets you most of the benefits.
It's highly manageable and captures about 80% of the possible benefits with a realistic time commitment.
Okay, for the executive who is truly pushed for time, maybe only 40 minutes a week total, there's the executive MED.
20 minutes, 2 days a week. You select only 3 big compound movements. Think trap bar deadlift, overhead press, weighted pull-up, and you perform just 1 hard RPT top set for each. Minimal rest.
It's maintenance lifting.
It provides just enough stimulus to signal the body to maintain muscle mass and strength during peak stress periods. This is proof that perfect should never be the enemy of done.
And if you have a healthy 3 hours a week to dedicate, you can use the golden ratio.
Right. We split the 3 hours logically. Hour 1 is heavy lower body strength with a short, sharp HIIT finisher. Hour 2, heavy upper body strength plus core work.
And hour 3.
A steady 45 to 60-minute Zone 2 endurance session designed specifically to flush systemic inflammation and boost recovery for the 2 strength days.
Now we need the mandatory warning. What about the veteran who, out of habit, wants to train 7 days a week to maximize results?
You must resist this urge completely. The biggest mistake for the strategic veteran is thinking 7 days of training equals 7 days of progress. At 45, you do not grow in the gym. You recover, and you repair in bed.
So 7 days a week is a recipe for burnout.
It guarantees it.
Yeah.
It invites systemic inflammation, elevates cortisol. If you absolutely have to move daily for your mental clarity, your 3 or 4 hard training days must be balanced by active recovery mobility, walking kept strictly below a zone 2 heart rate. You must prioritize rest.
So smarter, not softer, isn't a retreat. It's a surgical refinement of effort.
It's the acknowledgement that you are not an old young man. You are a new, dangerous machine built on the principles of efficiency and precision.
That was a phenomenal deep dive into high-performance aging. We've talked a lot about using external data like HRV to manage your training day-to-day, but the sun-dried material also mentioned a biohacker protocol involving annual health checks.
That is the ultimate measure of applying the smarter doctrine. If your body is truly a machine to be engineered and optimized for longevity, you need internal metrics. The advanced protocols recommend getting full blood work done annually.
To monitor what specifically?
To monitor key internal markers. You want to be tracking free testosterone, your HDL and LDL ratios, and chronic inflammatory markers like high sensitivity CRP.
Which raises an important final question for you, the strategic veteran. How often are you truly looking at the internal data, not just the weight you lifted or the number on the scale, to optimize your performance, your recovery, and your lifelong longevity?
Engineering your health from the inside out. That's the true goal.
Until next time.